Tell us a little bit about how you describe PCH.
So if a product can be imagined, it can be made. That's what we say to our customers. And we take products from idea all the way through to consumer. And today, the whole relationship between a consumer and a brand is changing. The brands want more direct access to the consumers, and we work with the startups and the brands to do this.
Mm-hmm. And you've been running this company for a number of years. You're behind a whole bunch, or you support a whole bunch of the products that we carry on us and we have in our homes as well today, yes?
Yeah, I mean our core business is about, we move about 10 million parts a day. We've probably about $10 billion of gross merchandise value a year of product.
Wow, wow. Okay, and so obviously some of that learning you put into the RadioShack idea. Can you tell us a little bit about this project?
I mean, that started about 3 years ago when we started to interact with startups. And like when I sit with a startup here in Silicon Valley, they'd want to make an accessory. If I'd sit with a startup in China, they'd say, we want to make a device. And I tell that story here, and people say, we got to bring manufacturing back here. And I'd say it's got nothing to do with manufacturing. It's got everything to do with distribution and getting a product to a consumer. And the challenge today is to get the products into a consumer. It's the distribution. So when we looked at how can we help the startups that we work with, and the big challenge for me was if I get a great startup here in Silicon Valley and they have an idea for a product and they go to Best Buy to get an order for the product, the order comes with huge challenges. It's like consigned inventory, 90-day payment terms, right to return, and probably about 10 to 15 inventory hubs all around the US.
Yeah, in some ways, it seems that to me that channel and retail seems to be one of the biggest hurdles for startups today.
It is the biggest one. So we said, okay, how do we break that down? And we looked around, where could we find a retailer that we could work with, that we could show them there was a different way to do this, and to give the startups a great opportunity. So we ended up talking to Joe and the team at RadioShack, and they were open to talk. Mm-hmm. And we said, okay, we need to change the contracts. And we said, okay, for our startups, you want great products in the stores to get more people in there. So to do that, we need to change the contracts. And the contracts, typically it was taking them just under logistics to take a product from a production line in China to the stores was taking 3 months through the entire channel. There's no startup can afford 3 months of inventory. So we said, okay, we want to ship it direct to store. So we brought that delivery time down to, I think on average about 5.5 days. Wow. At the moment. Now the flexibility it's giving to the stores even to be able to reorder on a much more rapid basis is phenomenal for them. We also said, okay, we want better payment terms for the startups. So they even agreed to payment terms like 14 days. Immediately that got the attention of the startups, which also got the attention of investors. And it's creating a safer environment for the startups and for investors to invest in some of these exciting hardware opportunities. And finding, retailers we find today are much more open to really partnering with brands that are, that can bring innovation and telling and helping to tell the story, because it is all about telling the story and it's about the experience. And you can create, for a brand, you've got to be able to create the experience.
Sure. So, I mean, in terms of the RadioShack experience, what happened was, I think Tim was telling us, we had a whole bunch of startup products in those stores. How many stores did those startup products go into?
They go in now today into about 2,000 stores, but I mean, it will go into, they grade the stores, so it depends. The great thing is we get the data, the sell-through data on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. So we're able to see the data, and I think we analyze it on, we don't do it every day, but we see the sell-through. That allows us to fulfill direct from our facility in China.
You're shipping straight to the stores?
Straight to the stores.
And it's direct. Still 5 days or 5.5 days?
5.5 days, the average.
From the moment they manufacture startup products?
Actually, we keep it in our hub, so it's seamless.
Uh-huh. Wow. And so what are the implications in terms of for the retail business?
I think that, if you have a retail store, you want to have fresh products in the store all the time, and our business is all about making less products, not more products. We hate having warehouses full of inventory. And when you look around the world and you see all these warehouses, because we do it for some companies, they insist that we put product into warehouses, but this is huge risk. And it actually is the thing that is the one obstacle that we find that limits innovation, especially in the hardware world. If we manage to change that distribution model and really shorten it, we think the amount of innovation in hardware that's going to come out of Silicon Valley is just huge.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about technology. Some of the ways you do business is because you worked in fashion.
Yes.
You know, what do you take from fashion that you're now applying to technology?
So I spent 10 years in the fashion in retail, and it was an amazing experience. But started on the shop floor, and then ended up running a company. It was based in Ireland. And what I loved about the fashion world was I could go to a fabric mill, I could buy 60 meters of fabric, I could bring it to a contract manufacturer, and I could convert it into any garment I wanted. So I had huge flexibility, and our designers had great control over the creativity. When I ended up going into the technology world, I found that there was technology roadmaps, there was product roadmaps, and these were like 2 years long, and it was crazy. But in around 2008, where we saw huge change, we saw Arduino, Raspberry Pi, and now Edison. We saw Linux, Android, and 3D printing. So you could actually hack together a product. And we saw engineers and entrepreneurs going into their garages with these tools, or I call them the fabrics of technology, and actually making prototypes. And the moment of, one of the great moments of truth is, and moments of magic in the technology world, and any world, is when you're making a product, is when you see that first prototype. That's when you can refine it and make it beautiful. And you know, we see that the fabrics of technology are completely changing, and that's driving a renaissance in prototyping, which is driving a renaissance in hardware. Mm-hmm. And again, I think with this whole direct ship model, we talk about, you know, if you can send, and we think our fulfillment is a really important part, so if you can send a parcel or an astronaut to the International Space Center in 6 hours, you don't need distribution centers around the world to ship products around the world either. We talk about being 3 hours from all of the factories we work with, and 3 days from 90% of the consumers on the planet that buy the products.
So how's this going to change the retail? We had Robert come and talk, you know, from his experience at Geek Squad, Best Buy. Is it going to change it's going to help them more? Is it going to change them more? I think it's interesting. When we look, one of the companies we work with in China is a company called Xiaomi, where we actually do their fulfillment. And this is a company that pre-sells their products before they come into the fulfillment center, as opposed to when you look at what Amazon announced during the week, that they have over $80 million of excess inventory sitting in their hubs. They're completely different models. We look at Xiaomi, the product is pre-sold before it arrives to the hub, and they will sell out products immediately. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at, if you can actually create these, and they're looking at some of the other companies we're working with in this space, looking at pop-up stores. And again, it goes back to the experience. We've always said that we work in the experience economy and we create great experiences. And when we look at some of the work we're doing today, was one retailer who came to us, and they have, as you walk into their store, they have this very strong fragrance. So when we're packaging the box at our fulfillment center, we're building in a fragrance on the strip, that when you pull the strip on the box, you get that very same fragrance. So the out-of-box experience when it arrives to the consumer's home, that's a really important moment of truth. So you bring in, so they go to the store experience, they have
and it's the omnichannel that you've heard mentioned here today.
Way as well.
Yeah, and it's, again, you know, it's how do you bring that relationship closer between the brand and the consumer, and that, you know, how do you make that experience wow? And that's a big part of what we do, because we're very involved in the manufacturing. We're also very involved in the out-of-box experience when it comes to the packaging, and also on that whole last mile delivery, whether it's to a store, whether it's to an end consumer. Personalization is something which we do. Every order we ship to a consumer is personalized in some way or other, whether we engrave the product or whether we actually just put a message on the package.
That's great. Well, it's going to be great to watch how the impact of businesses like yours have on retail and the consumer environment.
It's exciting.
Please thank Liam Casey.
Thank you.